So this video is just going to be an hour of me staring in open-mouthed awe at the intense beauty and mystery of the universe. The vast galaxies of natural wonders and astonishing vistas of wild splendor. Hello, and welcome to the Professor Polymorph Show. I'm your host, Professor Polymorph. Today's episode is brought to you by my lovely and generous patrons, by the letter S, and by the color of the deep and endless void between the stars. 13 Witchy Ways of Looking at the James Webb Space Telescope, Part 1. Now, I don't know about you, but my 2022 has been kind of bleak. I'm talking dumpster fire apocalypse vibes. And not just one dumpster fire, but a whole bunch of them, all stacked up on each other like a leaning tower of Pisa. So the appearance of the images from the James Webb Space Telescope have been a very welcome piece of good news. A splash of beauty and inspiration and, dare I say, hope. 1. A gift, an omen, a beacon of hope. This is the first of the 13 witchy ways we're going to look at the James Webb Space Telescope. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, so let's first define what I mean by witchy. As I said in my first video, I understand a witch to be someone who engages in spirituality in an earth-based way, in an ecstatic, improvisational, poetic way, and by talking directly with spirits and deities and ancestors. Now that I'm making this video, I realized I missed out on something important. Even magical, shape-shifting professors get things wrong sometimes, it turns out. The missing piece is probably best expressed by one of my favorite chants, which goes, "We are the kiss between earth and heaven. We are the song between sky and ground. Sing for your lives and for the world we live in. Nothing is lost that can't be found." Nature, of course, is much bigger than the Earth, which, however lush and beautiful and glorious she is also only one planet in a vast cosmos. Nature includes the sun and the moon and the stars. The billions of galaxies and the trillions and trillions of stars. For witches, nature is our sacred text, and awe and wonder at the beauty of nature is one of our central acts of worship. So how do we read the chapters and verses that are the latest revelations of natural splendor brought to us by the James Webb Space Telescope? Well, there's no one right way to answer that question. In fact, there are at least 13 correct ways to answer it. And because I'm greedy and tricksy, I've snuck in 3 more answers in this first section. My tricksiness knows no bounds, though, because the 3 answers are also all facets of the same answer. When we consider the James Webb images to be a gift from a living cosmos, we naturally wonder, what does this gift mean? And that's the essence of an omen, a message from the more than human world, or worlds in this case. Worlds upon worlds upon worlds. One of the tried and true ways that a witch learns to listen to mystery is through divinatory practices. In my case, that's most often through the tarot. And while the tarot unfortunately doesn't have any cards that depict cutting-edge telescopes sent out into the Lagrange point of Earth's orbit, it does have a card that seems very relevant: the star. The tarot is broken up into the minor arcana, which depict more everyday and earthy struggles, situations, and victories, like when you get in a staff fight with 5 of your friends, or when a floating hand offers you a drink, but it's, like, not the right kind of drink. The major arcana, or greater mysteries, depict deeper, larger, more cosmic forces, like death or fate. The star is one of these major arcana. The star is number 17, and comes right after number 16, the tower, which is basically the past 2 years, or the past 6 years, or the past 250 years. Coming after the ruin, devastation, and necessary falling apart of the rotten structure that is the tower, the star card typically represents hope, inspiration, renewal, clarity, the light at the end of the tunnel, the luminous core that remains after everything false has been stripped away, the unveiling and recognition of bright beauty, self-love, awareness of the divine spark within oneself, the kind of radical shift and perspective brought about by a gorgeous naked woman pouring water into water. Of course, I'm not trying to say everything is going to be all starshine and roses now. The story is rarely that simple. I am saying we can view these images as a reminder of the truth the star card carries, that beauty remains even after a terrible storm, that we contain brightness and inspiration and hope as natural aspects of our birthright, as children of earth and starry heaven. 2. Time to sharpen and shift perception. What might we see if we imagined that the James Webb Space Telescope was itself a tarot card? In other words, if we shifted our view from what the telescope reveals to what the telescope is. A telescope, of course, is an instrument for sharpening perception, a tool for enhancing perspective, a way to see what has previously been hidden. So we might understand the revelation of these images from the James Webb Space Telescope. Okay. I can't say that whole mouthful all the time. Let's go with a cute little acronym. JWST. Jesus would smoke and toke. Jesus was a stone-cold tiger. Jesus watched stars too. So we might understand the revelation of these images from the JWST as both a challenge and a promise. What is there that you're not seeing, that remains hidden from view behind clouds of stellar dust? What might you see if you sharpened your view? And how could you enhance your perception? What tools might you use to peer deep into the fabric of the universe, which includes both the epic mysteries of the space-time continuum, as well as the wrinkles and folds of your everyday life? We will come back to this question. If the JWST was a tarot card, what would it mean? As all systems of divination contain multiple facets of meaning. At least 13. 3. The universe is vaster and weirder than you thought. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Hamlet, William Shakespeare. So these 13 ways of looking are going to have some overlaps and some cross-referencing. Just the way that a gem with 13 facets would have some facets that are right next to each other and some facets that are similar shapes. So this third witchy spiritual truth is, naturally, right next to the second one. Let's come at this from a slightly different angle. Scientists estimate that around 5,000 stars can be seen from the Earth with the naked human eye. And that's in ideal conditions without clouds or light pollution, around the time of the new moon. And yet many, 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 many more stars exist in the universe than those few we can see. The exact number is unknown, of course. Still, astrophysicists have been working on various ways to estimate the total number of stars. One estimate, based on multiplying the number of galaxies by the number of stars in our own galaxy, results in 10 to the 24th power, or 10 multiplied by 10 24 times. The result of that is a 1 followed by 24 zeros. Basically, this is a number that is mind-bogglingly enormous, at least to me. Let's come at this from another slightly different angle. There's currently estimated to be 7.96 billion human beings on Earth. Let's round that up to 8 billion to make the math a bit easier. If you divide 1 septillion by 8 billion, you come up with 100 trillion. That means that for each human currently alive on Earth, there's approximately 100 trillion stars out there in the universe. So, if we're going to be fair and divide the universe up equally, each human would get 100 trillion stars. What would you do with 100 trillion stars? Okay, but we haven't taken into account all the alien species out there, plus all the non-human animals. And surely the redwood trees and the enormous fungal beings deserve at least some stars. Okay, back to the math. So just to try to understand, let's divide 100 trillion by 8 billion. That gives us 12,500, which is a number that at least feels comprehensible. So if I've done my math right, this all means that if you took a person and made a whole entire Earth's worth of copies of that person, like say through some wild cloning experiment gone totally out of control, and you did that for each of the 8 billion humans on Earth, so there were 8 billion Earths, each full of 8 billion clones, and then you did that whole mad science experiment 12,500 times, then you would end up with the total number of stars in the universe. Now that we made those seemingly incomprehensible numbers totally reasonable and comprehensible and tidy, let's carry on. Okay, but one last thing. What would your world, full of 8 billion versions of you,
be like.
I think these images from the JWST are a reminder that there's so much that we don't understand, that there is vastly more of the universe that we have not seen, that we do not know, than that which we have seen and known and understood. There is so much mystery in the cosmos. In the face of so much unknown, we might want to practice more humility than we often do. We might also take some inspiration and even hope from the vast mystery. For if so much is uncertain, many things might be possible. Many worlds exist, and many possible worlds might exist. This truth is exemplified by the concept of the stars of possibility. I first heard of the stars of possibility when I went to Free Cascadia Witch Camp about a decade ago. So if you don't know, witch camps are basically what they sound like. Summer camp for witches. Some things are different. You're more likely to go to a workshop about planning rituals than to learn how to canoe. And many things are the same. You're very likely to sit around a fire and sing songs together and tell stories. Though these stories are less likely to feature gruesome murders at Makeout Point and urban legends about ghosts, and more likely to feature gods and ancestors and sacred mysteries. Witch camps are one of the main practices of the reclaiming tradition of witchcraft, a spiritual lineage that focuses on earth-based magic, intersectional feminism, and the radical sharing of power to cultivate a world full of justice, joy, and liberation. At least that's my take on it. One thing reclaiming witches love to do is to call in allies, whether those are the familiar elements of air, fire, water, and earth, or more unique allies, such as time. And the stars of possibility are one of those allies specific to reclaiming. The stars of possibility represent the myriad possible worlds, possible realities, possible futures. They can aid us through guidance and blessing, helping us remember that many things are possible, that the idea that nothing can change is a lie that serves those currently dominating and distorting our social fabric. If you feel inspired by this, or even just curious, you might try calling out to the stars of possibility at your next ritual, or your next campfire, or even just the next time you're looking up at the night sky. Perhaps asking them about a particularly naughty question where you feel stuck, and or where your view is cloudy, or perhaps just asking them for guidance and perspective, and see what happens. Listen for whatever answer comes, whether that's through words, or seeming coincidences, or images that shimmer into your dreams. 4. Team Wonder. Team Science plus Team Spirit. I've been noticing with the release of the first couple rounds of images from the JWST that my social media feeds and online haunts have been filled with enthusiasm and appreciation from both people on Team Science and Team Spirit. For a long time, and especially during the acrimonious culture wars around vaccines and masking, it has felt like there's been a deep rift between Team Science and Team Spirit. I wonder sometimes what happens to those of us who fall in between or who resonate with aspects of both sides. Seeing shared excitement about the JWST images gives me a sense of another possible alignment, which I think of as Team Wonder. Team Wonder is based on curiosity and astonishment, on valuing and appreciating the probably infinite mysteries of the cosmos, on understanding both science and spirituality as differing, sometimes diverging, and sometimes complementary ways of knowing and honoring the awe-inducing beauty of nature. Team Wonder could also be an alliance of those who value justice and truth, those who value liberating oppressed peoples and protecting the wild and the living earth, those who value a diversity of philosophies, spiritual traditions, and cultures, and who are united by necessary opposition to those who would impose a singular and false religion on the rest of us, like a new popular front that engages in not just political resistance, but also cultivates joy, resilience, and lots of kick-ass art.
And now for something completely different.
Robin Wall-Kimmerer is a professor of environmental and forest biology and an enrolled member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. In her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, she explores the tension she initially felt between the scientific worldview she was being taught in her botany classes
and the indigenous worldview of her people, which held all of nature as living kin. She uses the image of goldenrod and aster, two flower species which often grow next to each other, as a guiding metaphor in her exploration.
Together, the visual effect is stunning. Purple and gold, the heraldic colors of the king and queen of the meadow, a regal procession of complementary colors. I just wanted to know why. Why do they stand beside each other when they could grow alone? Why this particular pair? What is the source of this pattern? Why is the world so beautiful? But my advisor said, it's not science, not what botany was about. And if you want to study beauty, you should go to art school. I should have been told that my questions were bigger than what science could touch. Goldenrod and asters appear very similarly to bees' eyes and human eyes. We both think they're beautiful. Their striking contrast when they grow together makes them the most attractive target in the whole meadow, a beacon for bees. Growing together, both receive more pollinator visits than they would if they were growing alone. It's a testable hypothesis. It's a question of science, a question of art, a question of beauty. Science and art, matter and spirit, indigenous knowledge and Western science, can they be goldenrod and aster for each other? When I'm in their presence, their beauty asks me for reciprocity, to be the complementary color, to make something beautiful in response.
This quote, to me, sums up the heart of Team Wonder beautifully and powerfully. I know, though, that some of you might be unconvinced. I know this whole concept of Team Wonder might sound foolish, dangerous, or deluded to some of you. And yet, in the ancient light of so many stars revealed by the JWST, I feel emboldened to believe it might be possible. I'm encouraged because there are so many people like Robin Wall Kimmerer who draw from and honor both science and spirituality. I know that if we find each other and support each other and work together, just the way that trees nourish each other and support each other in networks under the ground, we can access astonishing power and accomplish great things. More about that later.
5. As evidence for cosmic pluralism.
You've probably never heard of cosmic pluralism. I certainly hadn't before I started doing research for this video.
But if you found yourself thinking, when you saw all those galaxies upon galaxies, and stars upon stars upon stars,
surely there must be someone out there.
Surely there must be more life out there somewhere in this vast and gorgeous universe.
Well, that's the essence of cosmic pluralism.
One of the most famous proponents of cosmic pluralism was Giordano Bruno. He was a Dominican friar who lived in Naples in the mid-1500s. He was a bit of a Renaissance man, with interests in mathematics, poetry, and philosophy, in addition to being an ordained Catholic priest and member of a holy order. He had some, let's say, unusual views for a Catholic priest. He was a pantheist, i.e. someone who believes that God is everything, and or that the universe is divine. He taught that souls reincarnate after death, which sounds a bit better than burning in hell for eternity. And most relevant for us, Bruno espoused the doctrine of cosmic pluralism. This was in sharp contrast to the prevailing cosmology of his day, which held that Earth was the center of the universe around which all the other celestial bodies orbited. The stars in this framework were all fixed at the same distance and circled around the Earth, kind of like all the angels were subordinate to a transcendent and all-powerful God. Bruno disagreed. He argued, in several philosophical publications, that the stars were not fixed, but moving, that the stars were their own suns, with their own planets. He wrote of, quote, all those worlds which contain animals and inhabitants no less than can our own Earth, since those worlds have no less virtue, nor a nature different from that of our Earth. This was a shocking idea, a radical idea, an idea which decentered Earth as unique or even special, and correspondingly decentered humanity. Bruno went so far as to argue that the universe was infinite and could have no center. The hierarchy of the Catholic Church certainly responded to Bruno's philosophical stance as a threat. He was accused of heresy, put on trial by the Roman Inquisition, and eventually burnt at the stake. Astrophysicist Stephen Sauter has written that Bruno, quote, was indisputably the first person to grasp that the sun is a star, and the stars are other suns with their own planets. That is arguably the greatest idea in the history of astronomy. End quote.
Bruno has been claimed as the first martyr for science. I'd like to claim Bruno as one of the prototypical members of Team Wonder, as someone who bridges the gap between Team Science and Team Spirit, as someone who dared to think for himself and to stand up for the truth in the face of immense pressure, as someone who truly and deeply embodies wild curiosity and a passionate sense of awe.
6. As powerful inspiration for art. As awe-inspiring and beautiful as the JWST images have been, the artwork that has already been created in response is at least as powerful and moving, and maybe even more so. I mean, have you seen this painting? Clearly destined to be a classic. And speaking of classics, check out this one. But the JWST images have also inspired new types of art, even entirely new creative genres. Yes, this whole section is a joke. Also though, humor and playfulness and folly are also facets of sacred awe, in my opinion. That's a topic I might make a whole video about at some point. Clowns and sacred fools and trickster wisdom. I hope you've enjoyed these first 6 witchy ways of looking at the JWST. Let me know in the comments if you have a favorite one, or even better, what your own personal witchy way of looking at the JWST would be, or your atheist way, or your Muslim way, or existentialist way, or any way. Stay tuned for part 2. Take care and keep looking up at the stars in wonder.